LH stands for luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone. Now, follicle, a follicle is a young egg in the female. So the egg starts as a follicle and then it grows and becomes a mature egg which can be released from the ovary. Then it passes through the fallopian tube where it can meet a sperm to cause fertilization, and then that becomes an embryo. Embryo develops into what? A fetus, and the fetus grows in the uterus for 9 months, and then it is born as a newborn baby. So all that process is possible because of the follicle stimulating hormone, which stimulates the beginning of the egg to mature to become a fully mature ovum. Ovum is the egg. Sorry. So then we have growth hormone. Growth hormone stimulates growth. Growth of what? All parts of your body. So it goes to all parts of the body and then it stimulates growth. Where do you find growth happening in the body? Which parts? Which organs? How do you manage growth in height? Anyone can guess. How you have grown so tall when you are from childhood? Your bones. The bones. So growth occurs at the ends of these bones. Look, here, 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 here. So when these ends grow on both sides, then the bones become longer. That's how you grow in height. Now that growth is promoted by growth hormone. So it only affects the ends of the bones. That's where growth comes. Even the fingers, these small bones, they grow. That's how you grow in general. So that's growth hormone. Then we have another one here. ACT. ACT stands for what? Adrenocorticotropic hormone. Make sure you write that down. Adrenocorticotropic hormone. That's a long term and it can be very difficult to understand that. So let us break it down into different parts so that you understand the meaning of the whole of it. Adreno refers to, pertains to the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland. Cortical pertains to the cortex of the adrenal gland. Because adrenal gland is like a bean shape. Not bean shape. It is triangular in shape. Look, adrenal gland is on top of each kidney here. See that? So it is like a triangle. Look here. It goes like this, like that. You run it on top of this left and right kidney. So it has a cortex. It has 3 layers. The outer part is called the cortex. Then the inner layer is called the medulla. So in the cortex, there are certain hormones that are produced from the cortex. The adrenal cell. But for those hormones to be produced, they must be stimulated by a hormone that comes from the brain, which is the ACT, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Tropic means it has a target. The target is the adrenal gland. So adrenocorticotropic hormone will be produced by the anterior pituitary, but it does not affect any part, only affect the adrenal gland. When it affects the cortex of the adrenal gland, then the cortex of the adrenal gland is going to produce other hormones. One is called aldosterone. Another one is called cortisol. And then it also can produce from the medulla another hormone called epinephrine and norepinephrine. Now, those are many hormones. produced by the adrenal gland. But all these other hormones cannot be produced without the ACTH from the pituitary. So it is like interconnection. So your brain and these other glands are connected. So the control comes from the brain. And then they will regulate the metabolism, like growth. Growth is a chemical process. The cells grow, more cells, more tissues, and more organs. Like the bone. Bone is an organ. But you have to have more bone cells so that they accumulate at the ends and then the bone becomes longer, like that. So that's what happens. So, adrenocorticotropic hormone. We have said that the adrenal gland has 3 regions. The outermost is the cortex. Then we have the innermost is the medulla, and then between the cortex and the medulla is another layer. And each one of these 3 layers of the wall of the adrenal gland, they produce different hormones. The aldosterone, cortisol, then epinephrine and norepinephrine from the medulla. Okay, so then we have another hormone, PL. PL stands for prolactin. Prolactin. So anytime you see the word lacto, means it has something to do with milk. Pro is for milk. So prolactin is the hormone which produces milk production. Where is milk produced from the human body? Makila, you should tell that. You're the only one here who can tell better than others. Where is milk produced from the human body?
It is produced from the female nipple.
Huh?
It's produced in the breast.
From the breast. Breast. That's why we get breast milk for the baby. Men also have breast, but they don't produce milk. Yes, they produce, but it is insignificant amount. Yeah. Then some men who are obese, fat, kind of, there's a lot of breast growing. It's not a big as they need there. It's no, it is, you can see that it is showing. But if you squeeze it, you can get some little drop of milk. But that is insignificant compared to the female breast. But the milk production is increased in large quantities during pregnancy. Then it is stored for the baby, so that when the baby is born, there is enough storage to feed the baby, and the production continues until the baby is grown enough to start feeding on solid food after 6 months. Okay, so that's prolactin. That's milk hormone for production of fresh milk. Okay, so we are going through 6 different hormones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All these 6 can be produced by the pituitary gland. And what about the posterior? That is the anterior pituitary gland. What about the posterior? The pituitary. Now, the posterior pituitary can produce ADH, which is the antidiuretic hormone. Antidiuretic hormone. That's a long time. Let us break it down. Anti means against. Diuresis means passing urine. So this antidiuretic hormone, it is against a hormone that increases or promotes the passing of urine. Urine comes from water, excess water, and urea. So that is done by the kidney. But that is why you have this hormone, adrenal gland, is on top of the kidney, very close, in proximity with the kidney because they work together, they share functions. So the adrenal gland has a lot to do with urination. If that hormone is suppressed, then you're going to have more urine pass. So if it is promoted, increased, then you're not going to have any urine because this is anti-diuretic, anti-diuresis. Diuresis is passing more urine. So if a lot of that hormone is produced, you're not going to pass urine. See, and you cannot live without passing urine. If you don't pass urine, you cannot lose the waste products of metabolism like urea, ammonia, etc., which can do more harm to the body. Okay, so we want to look at the functions of each of these hormones when they are produced, what happens. Like here, thyroid stimulating hormone coming to stimulate the thyroid to produce the thyroid hormone. So the thyroid hormone is produced from the thyroid gland, but it cannot be produced unless it is stimulated by the thyroid stimulating hormone. Do you get it? It can be very confusing. So I will go through it over and over until you get it. So look, this is TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. This is a hormone which stimulates only the thyroid gland. And the thyroid gland stimulated will produce the thyroid hormone, which is called thyroxine. So thyroxine increases metabolism. Metabolism is, in general, chemical reactions that take place within the body. So if that hormone is stimulated, then you are going to get a lot of reactions going on in the body, even including this one here, with glucose and oxygen to break down and give you carbon dioxide, water, and energy. That's just one example. There's so many other reactions that occur in the body. But then these reactions will now take place much more accelerated when we have the thyroxine. For example, your heart can beat fast. If the heart is stimulated to pump quickly and faster, then it beats harder and then it pumps more blood to all parts of your body. What happens when more blood is pumped from the heart to the body? What do you feel? You feel your heart is racing and you start sweating. And you start breathing fast. See? It's like fight and flight. What causes fight and flight? It's almost the same thing. Because the hormones start to be increased in production. And then they affect these other organs. So they affect your eyes, they affect your respiratory system, your breathing, they affect your heart rate, they affect your digestive system. You feel like you want to go to use the restroom, or you might pee in your pants. If you get excited or you get nervous, too nervous, your muscles start shaking and your eyes go like that, your life is threatened, you think you're going to die, somebody's going to kill you, or going to shoot you. You can find yourself doing so many things happening in your body without control. So that is the fight and flight which we discussed when the cardiovascular system, the autonomic nervous system. You remember that? That is the nervous system and cardiovascular system. Okay, so now we find these things happening, so the thyroid is stimulated. If the production is increased, there will be more stimulation of the thyroid, and then there will be more hormone thyroxine produced. And if more hormones is produced, then you are going to get a lot of reactions going much faster, like fight and flight reactions. Okay, so what about the follicle stimulating hormone? If there is overproduction of that hormone, then since it stimulates the follicles, the eggs, to mature, then there will be more eggs maturing, and then there will be more ovulation. There will be more eggs ovulated, released from the ovary. And if you release more than one egg from the ovary within 1 month, that is going to be multiple pregnancies. So you're going to have twins. You follow that? Because of the increased production of that hormone can make you have twins. Okay, then look at the other side of it. Suppose there is insufficiency of production. Suppose the production is decreased, so it is not producing enough. Then what are you going to have? The opposite of twin pregnancy or multiple pregnancy. So you're not going to have any baby, you're not going to be pregnant, because no ovulation, no egg is released from the ovary. If no egg is released from the ovary, you cannot be pregnant, because there cannot be fertilization. Fertilization cannot be possible if the egg is released from the female ovary and comes to the oviduct, the tube, and then if the sexual intercourse, then the sperm produced from the male, because the vagina will swim to reach the tube and beat the egg and cause fertilization, and then the baby will start to form the fetus. The zygote will develop into embryo. The embryo will become the fetus. The fetus is when it moves and becomes implanted here in the uterus, the bud, and start growing there. And then it forms connection with the mother through the umbilical cord. And then everything is being exchanged between baby and the mother during the 9 months of growth. Because the baby, when the baby is in the uterus, the baby does not pee. We do. The baby does not eat through the digestive system as we do. The baby does not breathe. So all these things are done for the baby by the mother until the time the baby is born. But it has to take time until all these systems are completely developed, ready to function, so that the digestive system can start functioning, so the baby can eat normally through the mouth and feed on milk. And at the beginning, only milk, because the system is not ready to digest solid food. But the breathing is immediately after the head appears, comes out, then they suck the fluid which fills the whole system here, the lungs. Then it creates space, and then the air rushes in. That's the first breath that the baby takes when the baby is born. And the baby starts crying. And the more the baby cries, the more active and the more healthy the baby is. That's a very healthy baby. If the baby is born and baby not crying, not moving, that baby is not normal. So that baby might have issues to survive. Okay, we are not going into that. But I want you to understand what happens here, how all these hormones are produced, and then they affect other hormones to produce other hormones, and that affects the final target. That's why we go into stages. These ones, we go to that, then we go to this, then we go to that, then we end up here. Okay? So, we have only seen one part, where we have the thyroid causing growth, and then we have the follicle stimulating hormone plus luteinizing hormone. They work together. The luteinizing hormone increases ovulation. It allows ovulation to take place. But the follicle stimulating hormone must grow the egg to be mature, so that the follicle stimulating hormone will release it, just like products manufactured in the factory. When they are ready, they are packed and taken to shipping and receiving. Then they are loaded in trucks, ready to move to other parts where they need it. That's what happens here. So then luteinizing hormone will help ovulation. Then growth hormone at the ends of the bones will help growth. Now, what happens here that you have to pay attention, and it makes sense, if there is over secretion of these hormones, it will be a problem. If there is underproduction of these secretions, there will be a problem. So either way, if it is produced in excess, it's a big problem. If it produced insufficient, a big problem. So it has to be produced only in the medium, the right amount, not more nor less. Now, that brings us to the diseases of the endocrine system. We have a lot of diseases of the endocrine system which are due to inappropriate production of these hormones. Inappropriate means either too much or insufficient. Let's take, for example, growth hormone. If excess amount of growth hormone is produced, what is going to happen? You guess, common sense. All of you are very smart. Just tell me, what do you think will happen? If it is produced in excess, growth hormone, what will happen to the individual? Even if it's a child, what will that child, what will happen to that child? Pardon? Excessive little giant. So that individual is going to be a giant because there's excessive growth, not normal growth. That is a disease. That is not something good. Because a giant can be 7, 8, 10 feet. Malik, are you the tallest in this class? Probably. Either you or Rashad, or Lemons. Okay. You are both three of you are very tall. How tall are you? 6'1" or 6'4". And you, how tall are you? Wake up. How tall are you? 6'5", and you? 6'3". Okay. So the rest are just there. I don't even read there. I'm only 5'8". So that's why they become very good at basketball, because they can read. They can just put the ball here while standing and then make it. Okay, so anyway, if you go to 10 feet, that is only 6, less than 7, and they're so tall. What about people who are 10 feet? They will not fit into this room. If they come in here, they will go like this, because their head is above the roof. So that is an inconvenience. It is a big problem because they don't fit into the normal life. They cannot sleep in a normal bed because the head will be here, the feet are hanging down here, so they need a bigger bed. So you have to make special bed for them. They cannot get to the store and buy shoes because their sizes are not available, because they don't make that. So they have to make their shoes specially designed from the manufacturers, for them only. And that's a lot of problem. Because imagine you have to approach the shoe manufacturing company to make special shoes for only one person. It will cost a lot of money. See, they cannot drive normal cars. You have to make their own special vehicle, car for them to drive. Because I don't think we shall have time to take the quiz. But anyway, this we cannot complete this today. So we shall have to stop here. I've given you just the outline.
When's our last class?
Last class?
Yeah, remember like a week and a half ago, you was like, this is going to be our last one.
I think we are very close to the last.
So we can go?
Yeah, probably next week. Yeah, you can.
This is the last system. This is the last
But
system.
are you sure there's class? Do you have classes tomorrow?
No.
Good Friday.
Tomorrow's Good Friday.
All right, so I'll see you next week.
I said this.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Time.